Greetings, and welcome to episode 11. In today's episode, we'll be talking about how it's okay for you to be you, and what that means for you on your journey. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So, you, being yourself, not trying to fit into someone else's mold of what you think should be right. Or worse, you perceiving that they want you to fit a mold, so you put yourself in a mold regardless of what they actually are trying to convey to you. You think that it's how they're dressing or how they're carrying themselves that they're trying to get you to emulate, when all they're trying to do is get across a certain technique that works for them. That doesn't automatically assume that the parts of your life are invalid. It is okay to question who you are. It is okay to even tear down completely who you think you should be and rebuild it. But don't replace parts solely because someone said replace parts. Because when I first started my journey years ago, the actual journey into enlightenment, we'll say, I was 13 years old, so a little bit more impressionable than I am now. So when someone said, you got to tear this down or tear that down, I was like, cool, let's tear it down. But it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like it was coming from me. It didn't feel like me doing it. That's because it wasn't right for me. So eventually, out of frustration, you'll automatically just leave this stuff alone. But see, it also has the detrimental effect of making you leave the path altogether. Because these things didn't work, the path in general is invalid. That's not the case, but you're in a situation where you're not going to give it a second shot, or you're not going to give it the full attention it deserves. You're supposed to come to the understanding that it didn't work for you. You just remove those parts you just added, and maybe put some of the old parts back, or maybe leave them out. But that's the whole process. You're trying to find the components that are right for you. Sometimes someone has to bring these components to your attention. I mean, whether or not you're reading a book, you saw a documentary, TV show, maybe you went to see a famous speaker, or maybe you're walking around and you had an epiphany because you saw something and it correlated to something else. Regardless, you're getting the information externally. Because for some reason, the human mind works really funny. You got the subconscious mind that picks up every little detail, every subtle nuance of everything. But it operates through the filter of your conscious mind, which only perceives what you are capable of perceiving. Which means the things you've already experienced, or things that you know are possible to experience. If you don't know that a certain experience is possible, you're not going to perceive it as being possible to happen to you. So it won't happen. And that's not to say it won't happen. You won't see it as that. I mean, how many times has something happened and then you say, oh, wow, that was just a thing that happened, but then later you talk to someone that describes it from a spiritual point of view because that's where they're at, and you say, wow, that happened to me once or twice or however many times. But you didn't see it because you weren't there. See, so it's not that these things aren't happening, it's that you're not prepared. You are ill-equipped to see these things for what they are. Because, for some reason, you put yourself into the stringent line of somebody else's line of thought. Because you were so impressed with this person that you decided, I'm going to change the way I dress. I'm going to change the way I walk. I'm going to change the way I talk. Because that guy, he's got something going. And yes, he does. You know what he's got going? Himself. That's what he does for him. What are you doing for you? Because it seems like if you adopt somebody's persona, you're doing that for them. That serves them. That doesn't serve you. What serves you is what serves you. How do you serve the universe? And how does the universe serve you? If you're walking around doing things you don't want to do or don't like doing, just so you can have this, what's the word I'm looking for? The air, the persona of a spiritual person or any person. Excuse me. How does that serve you? I don't like dressing like that. I don't like acting like this because it's not me. Well, what should you do? Be yourself. It's okay to be you. And see, this goes a lot deeper. I'm just talking about the surface aspects now, but as this goes on, I'm going to get into the meat of it. But let's focus on the outward in for right now. You're focusing on what you're seeing more than what you're hearing. Like if you go to some of these videos, you'll notice they'll comment on the music playing. Oh, what music is that? Oh, I didn't like that music. Oh, you shouldn't have put that music with this video. But were you listening to what was said in the video? Because if you're listening to what's said in the video, the music doesn't matter. If you're focused on what the person is wearing that's speaking in the video, you're not focused on what they're saying. And you've missed the point. Well, I wouldn't dress like that. You're not that person. You wouldn't dress like this. I would. I wouldn't dress like you unless you're dressed like this. I got my jeans on, my leather vest, and my cut-off button-down shirt on. I'm comfy. And there's not one person on this planet that'll say, you're less spiritual because you're not dressed like me. You need flowing robes and blah, blah, blah. You know, there is no dress code for spirituality. There just isn't. Well, if I perceive you in a certain way, I'm going to act a certain way around you. Well, that's your failing, not mine. There's no dress code for spirituality. And I'm not going to let your failings dictate who I am and make me uncomfortable on my journey. Because then my journey's not going to serve me, it's going to serve you. That's why it's a character test. This whole thing is a character test. If I walked up to you dressed like this and you presume something about me, either positive or negative, that's your failing. In either direction. You don't know if I'm a nice person. You don't know if I'm an asshole. But you may presume, because I'm dressed like this, that I am an asshole, and you're going to treat me accordingly. And I'm going to be able to tell even if you don't say anything, because I can see, I'm 40 years old, I can tell when someone has that little sigh of relief, like, oh, he's not an asshole. Fooled you, I am an asshole. I'm just really nice sometimes. See how that works? Don't presuppose anything. Just let me prove to you who I am. That's my job. Your job is to stand there and not have any judgment of me whatsoever. I don't presuppose you just because I don't want you doing it like me just because I'm me. I don't care if I said something that completely changed your life. If that isn't the only thing you've changed, if you go ahead and start dressing like me, talking like me, walking like me, because I changed that one thing for you, you're not serving you, you're serving me. You're not here to serve me. My own wife doesn't even serve me. She makes dinner, it's a la carte. You get up and get it yourself. So, if she's not going to serve me, I'm certainly not going to make you serve me. Because that wouldn't be you. I want to convey to you how important it is to maintain your core essence. And now we're going to start getting into below the flesh, or below the surface anyway, down to the flesh at least. So now we're aware of the dress code policy for spirituality. We're aware of the behavioral, but actually we're not even aware of the behavioral. We're aware of the nuance factor of the spiritual journey. Retain your own nuance. Retain yourself. Retain your, if you're more comfortable dressed like I am, dress like I am. If you're more comfortable in a suit and tie, dress in a suit and tie. There is no dress code on the spiritual journey. None. The only dress code is the one you set yourself. So now let's get to the core of it. The meat and potatoes. You have a shadow. Already been established. It was established the minute of your birth. Minute of your existence in the cosmos. You were established with a shadow. Because if you are this brilliant spark, that spark gives off light. Light leads shadows. The first time you ever experienced your shadow was when you got angry because nobody could understand you when you were screaming at the top of your lungs mentally, hey, I'm hungry, can I get some food? Hey, I'm hungry, can I get some food? And now you're pissed because nobody's listening and wah! That was the first experience you had with your shadow after birth. So now the shadow is established. And for however old you are now, from then to the time you've gotten to this point where you're watching this video, adjust the camera. Excuse me. You've been nurturing that shadow. Now you won't acknowledge that you've been nurturing it, but every time you get angry, every time you've said something nasty, every time you've stolen, thought something negative, you're building on that shadow. Just like every time you do something good and light and love, you're building on your light. Well, a lot of people say, turn away from the darkness, or focus on the good, and focus on this, and focus on that. If that is what you feel to do, do that. If you do not feel that turning away from your shadow aspects is the right thing to do, then don't do it. It's okay for you to be you. It's okay for you to have that messed up sense of humor. It's okay for you to have those messed up thoughts. You wouldn't have them if it wasn't okay. If it wasn't okay, it would be impossible for you to have them because they wouldn't exist in your reality. That's just as a fact. I have a messed up sense of humor. I'm not showing it so much now, but I want viewers to stick around, and I don't want to scare anybody off just yet. But later in the videos, yeah, I'll be getting down and dirty. No, but seriously, I mean, everybody has a shadow. Everybody. I get angry. I don't shy away from who I am. I seek the middle path. Balance. You will never get away from your shadow. You will never get away from your negative aspects. You'll hopefully never get away from your sense of humor. Excuse me. Because these things, not just how good you are in life, but even how bad you're capable of being in life, is part of who you are as a person. It's part of your journey. Now, everything in moderation, but then if everything in moderation, then you can't go rush off into the light and do nothing but light work. Because people have a tendency, they stand in the light and they walk in the light and they do light work, and then one little stumble into the shadows and it's the end of the world. But it's not the end of the world. Excuse me. It will never be the end of the world. It's like if a Satanist trips and stumbles into feelings. It's not the end of the world for that Satanist. And I'm not saying that Satanists don't feel. I'm saying that it's just as silly for a light worker to think it's the end of the world because they experienced their shadow as it would be for a Satanist to feel like it's the end of the world because they fell in love with somebody. That's just silly nonsense. And for people to, the way it's taught that it's not okay for you to have a shadow, and that it's not okay for it to be part of your journey, and to turn away from it and only turn to the light. And that's, pardon my French, but that's bullshit. It's part of who you are. You will never get away from your shadow, and when you neglect your shadow has a way of popping up whether you like it or not. Those outbursts, I don't know where that came from, I'm sorry. You're going to go back and apologize because you sucked it down and sucked it down and shoved it down and shoved it down and didn't say it and didn't say it and didn't do it and didn't do it. And finally, it's going to get her to a boiling point. And usually what happens is you let it build up and build up and build up, and your shadow is building and building, and you end up unleashing it on someone that didn't even deserve it. They're not even the ones that put the bulk of that in there, but they're the ones that get it because they're the ones that are there when you reach your breaking point. So there's the involuntary experience of your shadow, or you can voluntarily experience your shadow just by, if the spirit moves you to be angry in that moment, be angry in that moment. I've been angry in the moment. I have said mean things to homeless people and then turned right around, went over and apologized and gave them money. Likewise, I've reached into a pocket and handed a homeless man a $20 bill before. More than one occasion, because that's what the moment felt like. That's the space I was in at the time. I don't bemoan the fact that I have a shadow, and instantly turned around and apologized. That man didn't deserve it. Not that that man didn't deserve it. He didn't deserve that from me. He did nothing to me at all. So when I say he didn't deserve it, I say he didn't deserve it from me. I don't know if that man is a good or bad person. I just met him. I can't say, okay, you deserve the money or you deserve my hate. I can't say that, but I can say he didn't deserve my hate because that man had never done anything to me. But likewise, I can't say that that man deserved my $20 because he'd never done anything good for me either. The space you're in the moment. Be in that space. Own that space. Well, I did something bad. I only love me when I'm good. What? It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to have a shadow. Did you go back and apologize? I did. I've done it to people that weren't homeless. I was just in a really bad space, and they came up in my space, and they even tried to be nice. Hey, how you doing? Oh, go fuck yourself. What? You know? And I didn't. There's a few times I didn't even apologize. I didn't feel bad about it either. I was in a bad space. You entered my space. Sorry. It happens sometimes. It happens to all of us. All of us has gone through a space where we were experiencing our shadow. We were in a bad space. Or just a negative space. Not necessarily a bad space, but just a negative space. We said something, ran off at the mouth, were hurtful, and didn't apologize and didn't feel bad for it. And you know what? You're not going to go to hell for it. It's part of your journey. It's part of who you are as a person. Now, if you would like to see less negativity in the world, yes, you're going to try and control it more, but you're still going to end up with those involuntary outbursts because you're holding it in and holding it in and holding it in. And meditation will fix it. No, meditation will not fix it because you're letting your light experience light. But you're not letting your shadow experience shadow. And when you let yourself experience shadow, you punish yourself. And when you let yourself experience light, you reward yourself. What's that about? Did you ever think that maybe sometimes when you're being in that negative space and don't feel bad about it, maybe that's the reward? You ever think about that? And I'm not trying to say everyone should go out and be negative because we need more negativity in the world. There's plenty of negativity in the world. But think about it. If more people were at this level, where they could see that those negative moments are just as instantaneous and unpredictable as those light moments. You never know when that possibility is going to come up that you're going to help that person change a tire. You don't know that. You might not come across someone you're going to change their tire for months. Likewise, you might not have a chance to snap at anybody for months. Some of those moments are few and far between. And then there's the up and down roller coaster in between where your daily interactions with people. You never know if someone's going to set you off. And even if you're in such a good space, that nothing bothers you, I guarantee you it's because you're perfectly balanced. Not too far into the light, not too far into the shadow. Because that's the only way to do it. Well, when I'm in perfect light, nothing can bother me, and that's arrogant. That's shadow. A more appropriate way to say it would be, it bothered me, but it didn't bother me enough to say anything. He gets his fix of negativity. You didn't get your fix of negativity because you didn't feel like you needed it. Perfectly calm and reserved. Are you sure? That's just what it looks like. When I'm in my perfect balance space, it looks like I'm perfectly calm and reserved. But what I am is ready for anything. I'm ready for good. I'm ready for bad. I'm ready for anything. And because I look so perfectly calm, it usually attracts positive energy. But I'm not in a positive space per se. I'm just not being negative, not being completely negative. It's balance. People seem to appreciate balance more. When someone comes on and they have this air of I'm only light and I have no shadow, people, I see it. People don't appreciate that. They think you're putting on airs when you try and convince people that you only have light and no shadow. But when you come through as I got a pretty good balance going on, people, I'd say it's 90-10. People appreciate that much more than you pretending that you're only light. It's okay to be you. You have a shadow. You dress like this, or dress like that, or eat this, or eat that, or you smoke, or you don't smoke, or you play video games, or you don't play video games. No one can prescribe to you. No one can prescribe to you what it means to you for you to be spiritual. No one. Not even me. I can't tell you, well, first you're going to have to buy you some skis. That's what it takes to be spiritual. And some snowshoes. And then you're going to want a mountain bike and a big house. And clothing. Can't walk around naked. Or ride a snowmobile naked. Okay, there's no criteria. None. There's no special diet. You got to have all these things and gluten-free. No special diet whatsoever. Is the food we eat nowadays bad for us? Yes. But that's by virtue of the way that it's processed. It is not just inherently bad for us. Food was never inherently bad for us. I do not pick plant life over mammal when I choose my food. Point of fact, I can't get anybody in my household to eat vegetables, so I don't buy them. Just like my favorite food is fish. I can't get anybody to eat it, so I don't buy it because it'd be a big waste of resources to make a big, huge meal of fish and be the only one eating it. So I don't look down on my family for not eating vegetables or fish just because I like these things. I don't look down on my family for not walking a spiritual path like me. Everybody does it differently. And though my wife is not an active seeker, you can tell that 12 years with an active seeker has an effect, has a very profound effect on a non-seeker. She sees things more like I do from a mundane spiritual point of view. Like, yes, there's spirit and this and that, but she just doesn't believe any of that stuff would ever happen to her. She doesn't feel worthy of these epiphanies and miracles and whatnot. I'm okay with her being in that space. It doesn't make her negative. It doesn't make her less of a person because she's not chucking down the path with me. And I'll admit I've had to walk much, 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 much slower down my path because I'm terrified I'm going to leave her so far behind. But I've accepted that as a part of my journey if I want to maintain my journey with my traveling companion. And that's what she is. She's my traveling companion. And she's that important to me that I'll slow my roll. I'm not in any big hurry. I used to be in big hurry. I got to reach enlightenment. I got to find the goal before I die. And then it came to me. How long ago was it? I want to say about 3 or 4 years ago. It came to me. Slow down. You have all eternity. Oh, well then never mind. I'm just going to take my time and learn it properly. The quick road is to the dark side. Yeah, but they got cookies. So it balances out. No, but seriously, and that's another thing. If that's who you are, you go to these videos and you're a Satanist or whatever dark god you worship. Or maybe you chose the vampire religion. Like I just said, whatever dark god you worship. And you go to these videos and you're like, light workers. You know, those same principles and techniques and meditations will work for you just as easily as they'll work for a light worker. You don't have to switch your energetic disposition to use these techniques. But the way they're conveyed is everyone's always no negativity, no negativity, negativity all you like. Truth. The truth has been spoken. Negativity all you like. Negative all the way around. Negative meditation, negative yoga, negative vegan, whatever. You can have it. And that's one of the things that bothered me so much, is that it's almost like they're saying you can't have any part of this if you're negative. That's bullshit. That's just straight up bullshit. And at this late stage of the game, in our human history, in our human evolution, we need everybody with similar information heading in the right direction. I don't care if you're a Satanist. I don't care if you're a light worker. I don't care if you're a shadow worker. We need everybody heading in the right direction. Everybody. I was gifted of the sight beyond polarity. I don't see light and dark. I see it. And it doesn't judge itself unless we judge it. I only love you when you're in the light space. Oh, I can't imagine being in the universe and hearing that. I can't imagine being in the universe and hearing that from one of the youngest species in this galaxy. Hearing that. When my kids do that, with the attitude and I know more, oh, God, that burns my ass. Could you imagine how the universe feels? You little young motherfuckers. I ought to destroy your planet. And that's how that works. Think about it. Those of you who have kids know what I mean. I only love you when you're in your light space. I know more. I know better. I know that you're two separate entities, really. No, it's just one fucking place. One place. And your limited imagination sees it as duality, polarity. They are shadow workers. They are no less or more than light workers. None. I do my work in the shadow. Oh, then you're helping to maintain the balance, so when we finally draw this back together, there's equal portions to balance in the first place. Good on you. Keep up the good work. Here, learn some techniques so we're all headed in the same direction and on the same page when we remerge together. But that can't be how it is. Why can't that be how it is? Because I love the light. Of course you love the light. You were predisposed from childhood. It's beaten into you, or how do I say this? Maybe not beaten into you physically, but it's hammered into you over and over and over and over again. You're only good when you're good. You're only going to be rewarded when you're good. So we are predisposed by the way we raise our kids, the way we live our lives, the way society works, to think that only good is good. How many times, and I know none of you are going to admit this, how many times have you done something negative and it panned out, but you didn't feel guilty about it, you just kind of brush it under the rug and don't tell anybody about it? It panned out. How can only good be good if that negative thing just panned out? Seems to me that it's a balance. And I know what you're thinking. Well, you're voting on the side of you don't know me well enough. Wait a few more videos before you decide who you think I am. If you've decided today in this video, because I've been swearing a lot, if you've decided in this video that you don't like me, I can live with that. But this is me, swearing, making jokes. That's me. And I like to do these. That's why I don't do a whole lot of editing and cutting out and here and there, because I want it to be like we're actually sitting down and having a conversation. If you have a comment, if you have a response to something I've said or a question, put it down there in the comments. You have a video response? I would love to hear it, because that would make for very good episodes of me and you going back and forth in a debate about a point. Now, I'd make that a side episode, but it would still be there, and I'd put it there for everyone to see. I'd see your point of view, and they'd see my point of view. You see what I'm saying? But you cannot have your own spiritual journey and walk somebody else's spiritual journey. You can't do it. You cannot do it. If you know in your core who you are, and you've known your whole life, but something somebody said was so profound that you want to change, but your core essence says that's not a good idea, listen to your core essence. Because it'll be an uphill fight. But I don't want to be a shadow worker. Why? Why? Well, because they get more love. No, they don't. They don't get any more love than you choose to let in your life. That is a decision. That is a decision. You want more love, let in more love. You want less shadow? Let in less shadow. So what you're saying is you want less shadow, more love. Oh, you want balance. Oh, like I've been saying. Oh. People just don't think about certain things that way. Maybe you needed me to say it. And if you don't like that I'm swearing, I can't really say I'm sorry, because that's not for me. You know, I swear that's what I do. Anyway, don't walk my path. If anything I've said in any of my videos has been so profound to you, don't walk my path. You take the little bits of new programming I've offered to you and you upload that, or you download that. It's not how I dress. It's not what I eat. It's not even the way I talk. It's what I'm saying. If what I am saying is somehow valid for you, take that, run with it. Don't put so much stock into what I look like, sound like, eat like, taste like. Alright? It is okay for you to be you. But, yeah, I noticed that in some videos, and not even the videos, it was more the comments on the videos, how they're so taken with the person in the video that they will restructure their whole lives to be like that person. And now you're not walking your path anymore, you're walking their path. And that doesn't serve you, that serves them. You're validating their path by walking their path. Oh, I started wearing a sweater vest because so-and-so wears sweater vests and eats tofu sprouts. And what? That's not going to make you spiritual. You're going to take one bite of that tofu and be like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh, and the sweater vest is hot. How does he do it? Maybe he does it because he knows that if you put on a sweater vest, you're going to roast and maybe think twice about dressing like him. You know? Be yourself. Add only the parts that are necessary. If you feel like you need to change your wardrobe to feel more spiritual, you're doing it wrong. Anyway, I am going to call it at this point. I hope that anything I've said, I hope everything I've said has been helpful or beneficial in some way. I hope that you got something out of this. Hope you learned something. And if you did learn something, or even just enjoyed the sound of my voice, please click the like button. You can favorite the video if you want, and if you would like to keep coming back here and getting more information, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I know I would like that. Anyway, until next time, you hang in there.